Good afternoon. Hope you're doing well. It's Mr. Cohen here. I sent you over two videos. This one, which I'm making right now, and a video by one of my favorite singers, Lea Salonga. I asked you to watch her mouth as you listen to the video. She is a master of diction. She does whatever she has to do to make her sound precise, to make her voice communicate the words in her song. That is something that we can focus on in this poetry recital to really, really, really enunciate and speak with clarity. Something we don't teach enough, in my opinion, in high school. I want to talk to you about ways that you can cultivate and sharpen your diction. I sent along earlier some diction exercises. Those are great. Big black bug bit a big black bear, and the big black bear bled black blood. You could do those all the time, and the cost is nothing compared to the benefit. Do a little cost benefit analysis. How much does it really cost? 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. And the benefit is a kind of speech that people can understand, look to follow. I don't know about you, but when there's somebody up there in front of me mumbling, I tend to work very hard to follow. I'm working. I'm sincere. I want to know what that person's saying. But at some point, I tend to give up. It's just so much work to make sense of what they're saying. But a person with crisp, clear diction, I don't know, it's powerful. It makes you sit up, it makes you want to hear from them. And so, one thing I'd say to cultivate and develop and refine your diction is to practice those diction exercises around the rugged rock, the rascal. Sorry, I don't have it in front of me. Around the rugged rock, the ragged rascal ran. Now, one thing that I encourage you to do for this assignment is so good in so many ways. One thing you can and should practice is diction, being able to say the poem with a kind of elegance and refinement and control, and being able to say the words well. I was working with my daughter Imogen on a poem that I sent you last week, Caged Bird. And a lot of the work was about focusing on individual words, figuring out how to say them. And I'd like to suggest a little exercise. And I'm going to look here at this poem, When Death Comes. I worked on this poem a bit. I memorized it. I recited it. I love this poem. But this poem presents challenges. There's words in this poem, and some words are not easy to say. And so when I read something, I want to say the words that might be challenging over, and as I'm saying them, I'm using my ear and I'm really listening for the way I want the word to sound. And I'm feeling in my speaking muscles, in my mouth, in my tongue, in my lips, etc. I'm feeling what I have to do to produce that sound. And sometimes I will really work on vowels, like in this poem, death. When death comes, How many sounds do I have to make there? D, d, de, death, death. When I say it, I am feeling the different movements that I'm making. I might exaggerate it. I might say it 10 times. And when I get the correct pronunciation of death, I will try to notice with a kind of utter attention and concentration what I'm doing there, and I will freeze it. Death. Let's see some other words. And I will, when I'm working on a poem or when I'm helping my daughter Imogen work on a poem, I will underline the words that I want to work on. Death comes like the hung. This word seems important. How do you say it? Hungry, hung, hung, hungry, hungry, hungry. There's a lot of work you have to do to make that sound. And you want to really sound it out, develop a picture, not a visual picture, but a physical picture of what you got to do to make that sound as well as you can, and then hold it. Do it a few times, like the hungry, 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 hungry bear, hungry bear. Sometimes you want to put a few words together, like the hungry bear in autumn, 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 autumn. And you can keep going through the poem like this. When death comes, like the hungry bear in autumn, autumn, and takes all the bright coins from his purse to buy me, and snaps the purse shut, snaps the purse shut. It's always good to exaggerate things. I was walking my dog the other day and I saw a guy and he was like walking up the hill and he had these, I don't know, 2 or 5 pound um, dumbbells. Is that right? Dumbbells, barbells in his hands as he was walking. And I did that when I was a bit of a fitness buff decades ago, walking with things in your hands, with weight in your hands. When you put the weights down, there's just something, a feeling of lightness. It's the same with reading. When you read in a really exaggerated way, when you quit it, put it aside, you can develop a real smoothness in your reading. You don't want to read hungry. When death comes like the hungry bear in autumn, your mouth knows how to make that sound after you have really focused on the elements of the word, really focused on it, and then frozen it. That's what I need to make myself do to produce that sound. The reason I showed you this video of Lea Salonga is look what she's doing with her mouth. She has trained herself. She is her own instrument. She has trained herself to use her instrument to produce pure and beautiful sound. And this is something we all can work on. So the first little bit I wanted to talk to you was about diction. And really there's two messages. One is diction exercises. Big black bug bit a big black bear, and the big black bear bled black blood. And the other is really close reading for the sounds and figuring out how to make the words sound. Next thing I'd like to talk to you about is rhythm or beat. Some of these poems that I sent you have a definite meter or a definite beat to them, and others are in free verse. Like this one here, When Death Comes, is in free verse. It has no regular beat to it. When death comes like the hungry bear in autumn. You have to figure it out yourself. Other poems that I gave, like this one here, Emily Dickinson, this one's got to be, this one is so easy to memorize compared to When Death Comes. It's got such a strict beat to it. And one kind of tool you can use in a poem that's got meter to it is to find that beat and to use it. And it will help you become master of this poem. Because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me. The carriage held just but ourselves and immortality. It's so easy, it's such music. So, if you have chosen a poem with meter, you have a certain kind of advantage if you know how to use the beat. When you're working with a poem that doesn't have any beat, one thing that you might do is to create a beat. To create a beat. There's another poem I'm working on here. This one, I'm learning this one. Thanks by W.S. Merwin. And this one seems like it doesn't have a beat at all, but you can find some kind of little rhythms that will help you organize your thinking around this poem, organize how you want to say it. I'm just going to read a few lines. Listen, listen. With the night falling, we are saying thank you. We are stopping on the bridges to bow from the railings. We are running out of the glass rooms with our mouths full of food to look at the sky and say thank you. We are standing by the water looking out in different directions. I'm sorry, I sent you a bad copy. I copied and pasted this without really looking it over. Not everything you find on the internet is flawless, but there's no period there. There's no periods in this whole thing. And a lot of the pleasure of learning a poem like this is supplying or kind of thinking about when and how you should punctuate it in your reading. But one thing I noticed with this poem, you can kind of give it a beat, right? With the night falling, we are saying thank you. And so how does it go? But a ba with the night falling, we are saying thank you. How does it go? And it's good to kind of come up with a little song that will kind of mimic the rhythm of the line. Ba 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 da ba da ba da ba da ba da ba ba da ba da ba da ba da. With the night falling, we are saying thank you. You want to come off the strictness of the song, but you want to get a little song. You want to get a beat going. Ba da ba ba da ba da ba da ba da. Ba-da-ba-ba-da, ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. Let's look at the next line. We are stopped, and maybe we get a pattern here. Let's see these lines. Let's see if we can find it. It goes, with the night, we are stopped, we are run. There is some kind of pattern with our mouths and say thank you. It changes here because we have this say thank you. Say thank you. We are standing, and then there's a change at the end here. But that's nice to know, and it's good to look for these kind of things. If you have no beat to rely on, you want to you want to invent things. You want to develop your own background rhythm. We are stopping on the bridges. We are stopping on the bridges to bow from the railings. How does that one go? We are ba da ba da ba ba da ba. That's kind of difficult. Let's see. We are stopping on the bridges. Ba ba da ba da ba da ba. We are stopping on the bridges to bow from the railings. We ba da ba da. It's got three unstressed syllables. How would it go? I'm going to try to make myself sing this one. We are stopping on the bridges. And so it's got two here. We are stopping on the bridges. We are stopping on the bridges to bow from the railings. Bada 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 bada. Bada 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 bada. That's it. Bada 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 bada. We are stopping on the bridges to bow. Do I have it right? We are stopping on the bridges to bow from the railings. Bada 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 bada. I'm not sure if I got that one right. We are running out of the glass rooms. You see the point. You want to try to find a try to find a kind of background drum for it. We're running out of the glass rooms with our mouths full of food to look at the sky and say thank you. I really like this poem a lot. And so, okay, this is another thing. The first thing I wanted to talk to you about today was diction. The second was rhythm, meter, beat. If you have a poem with a that's set according to meter, use it. Really, really use it. There was the first Western poets, Homer, for example, wrote the Iliad and the Odyssey 10, 12 hour long poems. And there were poets at the time who would go from town to town and have the whole thing memorized. Wow. And a big part of their ability to do it was that it was set in a very regular meter. So much easier. I mean, I've been learning Shakespeare sonnets, and after a while, you just get so used to the ba-da, 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 that you just got that beat going and you just lay the words on top. And it becomes easier than learning something like this. There's another poem that I'm learning, and I showed you this in an earlier video, Reluctance. And this has enough of a regular beat to it that you can use it, although it's not every line is not the same. Out through the fields and the woods, and over the walls I have wended. I have climbed the hills of you, and looked at the world and descended. Big part of figuring out how to recite poetry is figuring out how the poem goes. And so, if you have any questions, if you need any help with your poem, let me know. One last thing. One way to study a poem is to just mindlessly read it over and over and over and over again. You will get it that way, but it will take you a long time, and be it won't feel good. You won't feel like you're doing it. You'll feel like your body is doing the work. You want to avoid it if you can. You want to make yourself as active as possible. You want to come up with a strategy and image as you work. One thing that I like to do, and I like to do this in all my reading, study, intellectual activity. And if you find this useful, I encourage you to try it yourself. You might have something else. What I show you right now might stimulate you to think of another method that will work for you. What I like to do is I divide myself into two parts. One part, the guide, the searcher, aggressive, looking for solutions. And the other part, the learner, the listener, the person who is going to follow and try out what the guide, what the seeker, what the aggressive one is bringing. And so, like, I am in the middle of learning this poem right now, and what I'm doing with this poem is part of me is saying the lines, listen, with the night falling, we are saying thank you. With the night falling, we are saying thank you. With the night falling, we are saying thank you. And at some point in the process, I'm going to tell myself, I think I want to do it this way. I'm going to say, listen, with the night falling. I think that it would be good to make a little break here. And then the other part will judge it, we'll test it, we'll think about it, we'll try it out, and we'll decide whether it makes sense. With the night falling, we are saying thank you. I kind of like it. Let's continue. We are stopping on the bridges to bow from the railings. We are stopping on the bridges to bow from the railings. We are stopping on the bridges to bow from the railings. Okay, now, another thing you can do with this is I am going to teach myself these words in this line. I am going to create a picture. We are stopping. I am looking at us, and we are on a bridge, walking on a bridge, and we are stopping at some point on this bridge, and we are stopping on the bridges. It's not just one bridge, it is more than one bridge. We are stopping on the bridges. All of us are doing this. We are stopping on the bridges to bow from the railing and creating a picture of this in my mind. I'm working very hard to create a picture of us. We're walking on the bridges. We are stopping on the bridges. We were moving on the bridges. We were going somewhere. Something happened. We see something in the water. We are stopping on the bridges to bow from the railings. I'm going to create a picture of this line. I'm going to create a picture of this sound. We are stopping on the bridges to bow from the railing. I'm now closing my eyes. I am hearing the words. I am seeing the image. We are stopping on the bridges to bow from the railings. Now I'm going to take this content, these words, this image, this pattern of how I want to say it. We are stopping on the bridges to bow from the railings. And I'm going to take it all and I'm going to put it there inside my gentler, more passive mind. And now I'm taking it, I'm taking it. I'm setting it in there. I've got two selves. One is the mind that formulates, holds it, builds it, figures it, decides, and the other mind, the other self, where I put it. And that self is just as strong and just as important. And I put it there in my mind and I freeze it. And then I look away from the text. I look away from the text, keep my eyes closed. We are stopping on the bridges to bow from the railings. We are stopping from the bridges to bow from the railings. We are stopping on the bridges to bow from the railings. And I just got it, right? I just got it. But I had to make my intellect, my sensibility, my creativity, I had to really turn it up. And, whatever you can do to make it as productive, the times when you're working on something, whatever it might be, the time that you are doing intellectual, academic, literary, artistic work, you want to take the thing that's outside of you, that's foreign to you, that you'd like to learn, that you need to learn, that's important. And you want to put it through a filter of your intellect, of yourself, of your sensibility, of your criticism, of your imagination, and you want to turn it into mind. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about things to do to help you with this project. I think I've got another video or two in me and talk about camera, what to do with the camera. The video I showed you with Leia Salonga, the first viewing, it's great to watch the mouth. Wow. The second video, second time you watch it, it's very short. Second time to watch it, I'd recommend you watch your eyes. And that's really a nice way, what she's done there, it's a really nice way to recite poetry. What does she do? She looks in a place, not directly at the camera, but not too far away either. She keeps her eyes fixed on a spot the whole time. Maybe you'd like to try that. I'm here. If you have any questions, send me a message. If you want to show me how you're reading it and you'd like to do a Skype call or Zoom, whatever, please let me know. I have time nowadays. Have a great day. Thanks so much.